Welcome in. Hail to the podcast brought to you by Maize and Blue Review. We cover Michigan for the Rivals Network, which means you can find us at michigan.rivals.com. This is a first for Brock and I. Maize and Blue Review launched the day after the Michigan State game. We weren't here yet, so this is the first regular season loss that we've been a part of, and the first loss since TCU in 2022. And then obviously it's a blowout loss to an ugly one, complete mismatch, similar to Michigan and Georgia in 2021. But obviously this is week 2. So we have a lot of questions moving forward about this team. And frankly, I don't know if even concerns is the right word, just blatant frustrations. We spent 9 months covering this team in the offseason and writing about the things the coaches were saying, press conferences, things we were saying, and there's just frustration. And we'll go through them. I'm sure fans watching us live will have some as well, so feel free to throw them in the comment section. Any questions you have as well. I am fighting off something that's coming or here already, some type of cold thing, so I apologize. Josh Henschke, already very sick, not joining us today, but I am joined by the man who had to watch this game from the press box, Brock Heilig. Normally, I'm frustrated during the game, and then I get a little bit better towards the end of the day, and then I'm fine by this point. I completed both my stock reports, watched the film, went through the data. I'm more mad now than I was during the game. I don't know about you, but
I believe it. It was ugly, and it's frustrating too because being there in Ann Arbor, you've got College Game Day, you've got Fox Big Noon, you've got Barstool Sports, like everyone was there. The whole college football world was in Ann Arbor. All the celebrities, everyone knows the list. The atmosphere was amazing, and even at the game too. And throughout the first drive, when Texas was driving, then missed the field goal, that felt like a big early momentum shift. And by probably 12:30 in the afternoon, that atmosphere was gone, and it was tough. It's not a position that Michigan has been in all that much. I know we're going to go through the position groups and talk about where things kind of went wrong and things like that. But it was very ugly, very reminiscent of the Georgia game in 2021 when Michigan was pretty much just outmatched at every position throughout the entire game.
yeah, and I went on a Texas show with Orange Bloods, the Texas Rivals page. Jeff Ketchum has been around forever, and we kind of talked about the different scenarios for this game. And I said there was 3. It's going to be a close Texas win, a close Michigan win, or a Texas blowout. I didn't see any scenario where Michigan was blowing them out. And I didn't think the Texas blowout was likely. I really liked that 7.5 line because I can get a touchdown, right, with that betting line. And I talked about that Georgia game and just how, no offense to Texas is what I said, right? But just like that was an NFL defense, quite literally, right? That was a juggernaut. And I said, look, I think Texas is the second best team in the country, and now they're ranked that way. But look, I was wrong about a couple things. One, Quinn Ewers has taken a massive leap this year. I thought Michigan could force him into some of the mistakes he has tended to make. They did get the tip because he has that low delivery. Unfortunately, went right to the tight end. They did get him to force one ball into coverage, hit Makari Page on the chest, no interception. What they didn't do, and credit to Sark for this, was come out and try and be this super explosive offense and hitting all these deep shots and trying to score as fast as possible. I felt like they were playing Michigan's game. They were taking what the defense gave them. They were running the ball really well. And that team kind of reminds me of Michigan last year. That offensive line is way better than I thought. That's probably the best offensive line Michigan's faced in the last few years. They were really, really good. On defense, they're using kind of a committee approach from the defensive line. The linebackers are great. The secondary is good. And look, they've got Quinn Ewers. Is there J.J. McCarthy? And maybe he's better at some things as well. But, dude, just credit to Sark and that team for playing the game they did. What a game plan, and just flat out coaching and out playing Michigan.
Yeah, before we can talk about anything wrong that Michigan did, which we will probably the rest of the show, you have to give credit to Texas. Like, Quinn Ewers was amazing. I don't think anyone was expecting what he did on Saturday.
He's the Heisman front runner after that one game.
Yeah, and he should be. He was incredible. He was moving around the pocket well. He was smart, and like you said, he was taking what the defense was giving him. And Sark's probably the best coach that Michigan's going to face this regular season, and he proved it. He basically dominated Sherrone Moore and Wink Martindale and made him look foolish. And you just have to give Texas all the credit. They're going to be probably right there in the Final Four in the college football playoff for sure.
Yeah, it's them and Georgia in a tier of their own right now, in my opinion.
Yep.
And I do want to acknowledge, because you kind of mentioned it too with the atmosphere leading up to this game, the week, the months leading up to it, the day of the game, at the game, after the game, online, whatever. Texas fans have been incredible. I think there's an interesting mutual level of respect between Michigan and Texas fans. They really hate Ohio State as well. I was kind of surprised by that. But I thought they were great. And even in the victory, like, some of the conversations have been awesome. And I'm looking forward to that game down in Austin. I think that's going to be a good time. And, obviously the result is not what Michigan fans would have wanted, but in terms of what's good for college football and having those blue bloods in the big house and just the environment that existed, we've had to deal with some pretty rough stuff with rival fan bases the last couple of years. That was nice. There was something nice about that, right? So, all right, is that all the good stuff? Are we ready to be pissed off and say get mad?
So.
Okay,
I've got a list here of stuff to
I kind of lied, because I'm going to start with something I kind of think is a little good. Not necessarily good, but I want to say something. Davis Warren is not the problem. And if you want to have this take of the quarterback I haven't seen play yet will fix everything, that's clearly the problem. That is as amateur of a take as it gets. Man, the backup's always better, blah, 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 right? Has he been perfect? No. And this is where, look, I like Sherrone Moore a lot. I like Kirk Campbell a lot. And I like Wink Martindale a lot. And I don't know more than any of them. However, they were given these jobs, promoted, brought in under the giant umbrella of continuity, of maintaining the culture and success that Michigan had, and most importantly, the scheme. Just continuing to do the things that Michigan did well. And we're not doing that. Michigan, I brought up Warren, and I'll probably play some clips or pull them up while you're starting to talk, Brock. Warren on the deep ball had a perfect QB rating, 4 or 5, 99 yards, had a touchdown. I thought that was really good. Under pressure, he did better than I thought he would. He was under pressure 16 times in this game. Not acceptable. 10 of those pressures came from Evan Lake. Not trying to pick on him, but that's just the fact of the matter.
Yep.
When you had J.J. McCarthy, a future top 10 pick in the draft, and pressure was coming, you went jumbo. You went 6-0 line. You went 8 dudes. You had 2 tight ends in line. You did anything to get him protection. Against Penn State, you ran the ball 30 straight times. And you spent this whole offseason saying smash, smash, right? We're going to still establish the run. We're going to establish the run, whatever. Davis Warren is consistently behind 5 offensive linemen, getting pressure.
Yep.
Marlon Klein's not coming in line. Bredesen's not coming in line, right? Yep. And you're going 4 wide with Bredesen and Peyton O'Leary as his targets. And again, I'll pull up the plays in a second here to kind of show what I'm talking about. I put lost as the title on this podcast because it's not just the game they lost. I didn't think it would happen this quick. The identity's gone.
Yep.
Smash, toughness, gone.
Yep. That's what's most concerning. And I agree with you. Davis Warren is not the problem. He hasn't been great. He hasn't even really been good, but he's not the problem. And I think that's what's most concerning, is that it would be really easy for Michigan to just say, oh, the defense is still elite and the pieces are there, but Davis Warren just isn't the guy to make it all happen. No, there's problems, not only at quarterback, but on the defense.
All right, always plays automatically.
That's all right. There's problems everywhere. And I think that's what's most concerning, is that it's not just the quarterback. It's really everywhere. And the identity is gone. It's, like you said, this smash term that Sherrone Moore coined and really brought into focus last year, they don't have a rushing touchdown yet. It's been 2 games.
Wild.
And it's just like, and you talk about Evan Link, I'm sure we'll get there later, but he's been not good, to put it nicely, and giving up 10 pressures in 1 game is pretty awful, actually. And yeah, it's very concerning. I listen, Sharon Moore, it was the right hire. It was clearly the right thing to do,
Mhm.
bringing him in after what he did last year in the 3 games at the end of the season when Jim Harbaugh was suspended. But it's been underwhelming, I think. And obviously Texas is a good team. Everything that we say comes with that
100%.
caveat, but they didn't look anything like what I think any fan was expecting them to look like, and they're just not playing the style of football that I think everyone imagined that a Sharon Moore coach team would play.
Yeah, and look, the fire Sharon talk is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Okay, it's stupid, especially this early. And maybe TV, you tell me if I'm wrong because you were there. Maybe TV's not doing justice, but consistently, Sharon is being shown on the screen just standing there, not upset, not making any movement, not barking at anybody, not, involved. He just looked like he was just watching this happen. And again, I want him to go to his coordinators and be like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Right? Because look, I'll show it on this first play here. And for those listening back on stream, I apologize. Make sure you get on YouTube if you can to take a look at this. But the play I'm showing is Warren's interception with this is where the ball gets tipped. Okay. 3rd and 2. And Michigan comes out again, 5 offensive linemen, 4 wide. Right? You have Marlon Klein and Colston Loveland. Loveland's motioning down on the same side of the field. Right? And the play that's going to be run here is called all curl. Basically, all 4 guys run out and then curl down. It's a very common play from an air raid offense. And the reason it works in an air raid offense is because there's a threat of a deep ball. They think you're going vertical and you stop and curl. It's a way to get cheap yards on 1st down if you run an air raid offense. It is not the call when you only need 2 yards here to get a 1st down, because watch what Texas does. They're in zone. Look how they're lined up already. They're going to sit right on the marker. So all you're doing is stopping all of the receivers ahead of them in coverage, and you have no protection for Davis Warren. I'll let this play real quick.
Warren to throw it. Over the middle. Batted and intercepted by the Longhorns. Andrew Makuba, the Clemson. They're not going to get any depth.
So you can see on the replay, he's got 2 hands, right? You get 2 hands in front because the only guy blocking over here is Kalel Mullings, right? Link gets worked, hand up. He's got to throw the ball high. It gets tipped, interception, right?
Yeah.
And again, I'm thinking about even if J.J. McCarthy had been back there, are you going 4 wide with no protection? I know you put Mullings over there, fine, right? Is that the play call you're making? No, of course it's not, right? The thing I think frustrates me is they are doing Michigan stuff at times, right? So let me see if I can find the one I specifically wanted. This one.
Pistol back right now.
Okay. Here we go. Look at Michigan. You got 5 offensive linemen, Klein and Bredesen in line. So I have 7 dudes and Loveland up there as well. So we've got a 3 tight end set, 1 wide receiver. I thought we were going to see a ton of 12 personnel, or even in this case, you've got 3, again, the 3 tight ends, right? You could do 2 receivers, use Loveland like your axe, whatever it might be. Play action. How many times have we screamed about play action, right? Nice little play action for bootleg for Warren. Gets him on the run. He only has half the field to look at, and you'll see there's 3 receivers at levels. Another thing they did for JJ all the time. You've got a short route, medium, high. He can choose to take the shot. He can choose to take the dunk down, whatever. You get Colston Loveland at stride. There's somebody on him. It's only a short throw, but he does what he does. He breaks the tackle and gets some yards.
Right now, play fake. Warren wants to throw on the move and does. And he finds Colston Loveland.
Nice, easy throw. Keep him in rhythm. Loveland gets you 6 or 7 on 1st down. Now it's 2nd and 3. This is the kind of stuff you can do for him to get him comfortable. But instead, again, this is why, like, you can call for another quarterback, whatever. It won't matter if he's going out there 4 wide with 2 tight ends and Peyton O'Leary.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's literally the first thing that I have written here in my list of notes is Kirk Campbell's inconsistency. Like, there was a drive where Michigan on the same drive had the flea flicker and then had the fake reverse to whoever it was, Samaj or Tyler Morris, and then handed
Bootleg
it
was
off.
on that drive as well.
Yeah, exactly. And, he's calling up a great drive, and it looks great. There's times when he looks like that, and then there's other times when on 3rd and 3, Alex Orji trots out there, and all 111,000 people in the stadium know their run is coming,
Right.
and he runs it up the middle, and he gets stuffed. And it totally killed basically Michigan's only good drive the entire game was putting Alex Orji out there.
Little early for a Circuit City reference, but we'll take it. This is as sad as when Circuit City closed. Yep.
It's just, I just don't understand. And like you said, these guys know infinitely more football than we do
100%.
and ever will. But it's just crazy to me that a guy of Kirk Campbell's caliber can justify putting Alex Orji on the field when clearly they don't trust him to throw anything like 5 yards down the field or more. And everyone in the stadium could have told you that a run was coming on that play, and it gets stuffed. It's totally confusing, and it really makes no sense.
That was, I remember Josh talking about his worst fear in the 2-quarterback system was Alex Orji eventually becoming what Wildcat Jabril Peppers was.
Yeah.
And when you bring him out there and it's incredibly predictable, you're handcuffing him as well.
Right.
Right. And even on the play, one of the plays he got stuffed. Excuse me, I have the clip of it. Gio Al-Hadi's pulling and he runs right into Miles Hinton.
Yep.
So Orji's lane's blocked and then he runs in and nowhere to go. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. I completely disagree. Need Tuttle healthy. That's crazy. It's crazy to me when you see what's going wrong in this offense. The idea that the 7-year guy is going to come in and fix it. Davis Warren's the 5th ranked quarterback in the Big Ten right now.
Is he really?
Yeah.
In terms of what?
PFF grade, QB rating. He has the 2nd best rating under pressure in the Big Ten right now. He's the 2nd best deep ball passer in the Big Ten right now. His interception was the tipped, again, which I think was a terrible play call. The throw to Loveland, where Loveland came out and said flat out he ran the wrong route because that's supposed to be a quick dig. So he's turning around and catching it. So you're supposed to throw it before he turns around. And it just disconjointed. I want to talk about the run game because this is the same animal for me. We didn't see Kalel Mullings until the 2nd quarter.
Yeah.
And I thought we knew going into the season, we talked about this, that, Mullings might be I don't care if you don't want to call him RB1, but the thunder, the early down, the short yardage, like he might be the guy you need to rely on. We saw Fresno State and it was like, yep, that's continues to be the case. And then in this game, I don't want to lie, he had 6 carries.
Yeah.
And I mean, the whole team had 22. They didn't run enough plays, obviously. And I get like, oh, you fell behind or whatever. What?
Yeah. Listen, there's no reason he shouldn't have been the first running back out there on Michigan's first drive after the missed field goal. And, they put Edwards out there, okay, whatever. But to say he had 15 carries in week 1 and then he had 6 in week 2. And what's infuriating, I think, for a lot of Michigan fans is Sharon Moore, after the week 1 game against Fresno State, said, oh, I really liked the split. I think that's what we're going to go forward with in terms of, giving Mullings the bulk of the carries and have Edwards do the lightning stuff, thunder and lightning. And then they come out in week 2 and Mullings carries the ball 6 times and is hardly featured at all. And, you can chalk it up to not running enough plays if you want, but maybe if Michigan brought Mullings in earlier, they wouldn't have been in a spot where they were trailing from behind. They were trailing, or they were playing from behind and needed to throw as much. It's. I don't even know really what to say. There's just a lot that went wrong, and obviously, like we've said, Texas is a great team, but there's a lot that Michigan, I think, could have done better and could have prevented to make it a more respectable game.
To your point earlier, this play also occurred on that 2nd drive. So this is following that play I just showed, the play action bootleg to Loveland. So you've got a 2nd and 4. We screamed. So cute. Hold on a second. I do want to, since an Ohio State fan came in here, I do want to say something really quick. Everything I said at the beginning about the Texas fans, Ohio State fans are acting like they won this football game.
Yeah.
It's wild to me. Don't get me wrong. Michigan fans root when you lose too. But acting like this somehow invalidated what happened to you the last 3 years is absolutely crazy to me. And it's so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. And look, you're favored to win the next one by a lot, and you should, and you probably will. And you can talk all the smack you want when you win, but that won't change the last 3 years, as if it didn't change all the years you won before that. And it didn't change the years Michigan won in the 90s and the 80s. Like, relax, man. It's just, it's hilarious to me. Yeah. You got your own natty or bust year. Michigan did it last year. You know, worry about that. So anyway, okay. What have we been talking about all offseason? Give me Mullings and Edwards on the field at the exact same time. Get Edwards outside. Don't run him right up the middle, right? They did it once.
Mullings and Edwards in the backfield. And this time they give it to Donovan Edwards, plowing forward. He dives.
Is that a massive play? No.
No.
You got Edwards in space, got a first down. But let me show you something.
Mullings and
so Mullings is out front, and then here's Al-Hadi on the pull, right? Watch what happens. He goes to this block. So you got a guy coming free here because I believe that was who blew it before that? Right there. Okay. So you've got Jam Jajis is going to the next level. So instead of getting a big block on this guy, he just kind of barely touches him and goes to the next dude. So he comes free to Donovan Edwards, and he gets his foot. If he's not there, if Dom blocks him, look at where Mullings ends up. Donovan Edwards can go to his backside, and who knows how many yards up the sideline he's going. Right? Yep. There's plays like that throughout this game where I'm like, you know what? That can be fixed. Right. The Al-Hadi pull where he runs into Hinton on the orgy third down run. Dom on this one against second year as a starter, trying to think where he's going next, right? That kind of stuff I can see. Even that play right there, you've got tablets. Maybe you're on the sideline being like, guys, we're going to run this play again. Make sure you hit this block. We're going, whatever. Yeah. They don't go back to it, right? And not only that, my concerns are like you're not running those plays, so you don't have these little things to fix. I feel like you're running a scheme that you're not going to go away from, and that can't be fixed.
Yeah. And you know what else I don't think can be fixed, and I know you put this on the message boards, I think it was during the game on Saturday, is I don't know if you have this play. If you do, put it up. But Donovan Edwards totally missing a huge hole on the left side of the offensive line and running into, I think, to the back of his offensive lineman. Listen, Michigan fans, I think, will forever love Donovan Edwards. That was actually a pretty good one there. But
this is the one.
Forever love him for what he did against Ohio State. But this guy is a senior captain, and he still is having vision problems. And I just can't understand how he can be this far into his career and not be able to see wide open holes that he constantly misses.
It just is who he is at this point, and you know what he does well, so put him in those positions, right? Yeah. But yeah, look, you've got motion on this play. I've got Loveland up on the line, a little misdirection for Donovan, but yeah, he runs into the back of somebody and then eventually finds the lane.
38. And they'll hand it straight ahead, Donovan Edwards. And partner, that's what you 38.
And that's what you want. The one-on-one matchup with a linebacker, safety, whatever. If he doesn't get tripped up there again, who knows how many yards he's running for, right?
Yep.
But throughout the game, 5-0 lineman sets running right into the A gap over and over again. And look, I don't want to do all videos here, but like I just want to show to Warren's credit, like, and the reason I continue to say, look, this dude's not the problem, right? This play in particular, I think. This isn't the exact one I wanted, but here's another one. Again, 5 offensive linemen, you're 4 wide. He immediately gets under pressure.
Here's Warren scrambling. Stops, looks, delivers. Oh, in traffic and caught by Loveland.
And the thing that kills me about this play, and I know Loveland has to come back on the field, but just like the interception, look at how many dudes are in the same spot.
Yeah.
Why are all the routes leading to the same? And I know they're adjusting to him running over too, but like it's just there was multiple plays like that.
Yep.
Where
even defensively too, there was a play that I remember seeing live where there were 3 guys that nearly ran into each other, and you've got 3 defenders on the field, and they're all within 2 yards of each other. And I'm thinking this cannot be. This is not an effective way of playing defense.
Was it his touchdown maybe that I'm thinking of? Yeah, okay. Because he kind of bailed out of the pocket on that last one. This one, I think he shows really good escapability, and then he takes kind of a wider edge. And I know he throws across his body a little bit, but
trying to put something together.
2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Dude's just making a play.
Warren, long throw. Caught at the goal line. Is it a touchdown?
Touchdown, yeah. And look, I'm seeing a lot of these critiques. He looks at the first read, doesn't look anywhere else. He doesn't have time to look anywhere else a lot of times. He was under pressure again 16 times in this game. I've seen stuff about he misses reads. Of course, he misses some reads. It's his second start of his career. JJ missed reads as well. I just, until I see Michigan try to establish a run game, right? Run play action for him, give him the pass protection he needs. I don't know how we can sit here and judge him and be like, all right, he can't do this. We need to put in tunnel. I think that's crazy. If JJ, imagine the Penn State game last year, JJ McCarthy, the pressure he's facing, instead of Michigan doing what they do in that game, they go 4 wide and let Chop Robinson come and get him. And not only do they go 4 wide, not with Cornelius Johnson and Roman Wilson and Samaj Morgan. No, they go 4 wide with Loveland, Barner, and gosh, I don't even know what the comparable, CJR Roman's on the sideline, obviously. But they just let JJ sit under pressure all game. He's going to throw picks. He's going to have like he had in the TCU game.
Yep. Yeah, but as much as I agree with you about Warren, I don't think it would hurt if Jack Tuttle is healthy, especially this weekend against Arkansas State. I don't think it would hurt to bring him in for a series or 2 just to see what he has. Because you have to try everything at this point. And obviously, like you said, some of the problems are on the offensive line and with the offensive scheme in general. But just put Tuttle out there. Just try anything. I think.
I always worry about. Look, you know who Jack Tuttle is, right? Like in terms of being the 7th-year quarterback, and he was going to be a GA coach this year. He's the guy that couldn't beat out Sorsby at Indiana the year before, right? I like Jack Tuttle a lot, but I just don't know. I'm thinking about elevating the ceiling, right? And the Orgy situation is still so weird to me. Yep. Because you wanted him to win this job, right? We know that that's true. He's in the NIL things. We've been through this so many times. I'm not going to do it again. You're telling us he's leading this competition basically till the last week of camp. And I get it. Defense gets ramped up. Sorry. Yes, he played great last year in garbage time. The defense gets ramped up. Orgy struggles. Warren does well, right? I get it. But now he can't even get on the field. You said his packages were going to grow and he was going to have a bigger role in this. And you basically put him out there to run 2 or 3 obvious running situations.
Yep.
So, and then I agree Tuttle should get some run, but like it's probably in a blowout situation. So am I actually learning anything in that situation?
That's a good point.
If I'm not giving him series reps, it's too late now. You got USC next week. It's, so now you're stuck in a situation where you have to rely on practice, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mess.
Well, that's something else that I would be upset with if I'm a Michigan fan is just a few weeks ago, I think it was the media availability during the first game week, the week before the Fresno State game. Grant Newsome, media members are just grilling the coaches with any quarterback question they can find just to get some sense of who's going to be the starter. And Grant Newsome trots out there and stands at the podium and says with a straight face that he believes Michigan can win a national championship with either quarterback, either Davis Warren or Alex Orji. I don't know how he can obviously coaches embellish a little bit just to not give away what they're actually thinking and what they're seeing in practice. But how can he sit there and say that with a straight face when they don't even trust Alex Orji clearly to throw the ball? Like how can Grant Newsome tell the media that
they did on that that first play, right? But
right.
I mean that's like, you can't mess that up. It's a short throw. Edwards should be open. If he's not, go ahead and run it. But
yeah, I mean he's been in the game probably a dozen times this year, and he's thrown 2 balls, and one of them
in the dirt.
Yeah, one of them was a 3-yard touchdown that probably you or I could have thrown, and the other one was grounded to Tyler Morris along the sideline. I just don't understand. They like you said, they want Orji to win the job, and they say they can win a national championship with either guy. And right now, it doesn't look like they could win a Big Ten championship with either guy, let alone a national championship. So, some of the stuff the coaches said, I think coming into this season, is a little strange, and I'm seeing some comments there about Jay Sean Barham and Devin Bush.
Yeah, but and we'll get to that with clips too. But let's go ahead and move to the defense because we want to try and be done by 7. Similar theme that I just said with the offense, even more so with the defense.
Yep.
The Wink haters are so validated after this Texas game. Look, I think it's lazy to just be like, oh, he's Don Brown 2.0. I think that's lazy. But you're taking your players, again, a key to the Michigan success the last few years, leaning on the strength of your roster, putting your players in position to succeed, right? Utilize their strengths, hide their weaknesses, whatever, right? Because why is it lazy? Because they're completely different coaches, completely different schemes.
And it's been 2 games.
If anything, Wink didn't blitz enough.
Yeah.
Wink didn't blitz enough against Texas and played a lot of zone, right? So it did not look like Don Brown against Ohio. That's my point. Don Brown against Ohio was leaving tight ends on islands, and it's not the same. That's all I mean. It's not the same thing. But we'll do a clip on this too, so I can show you. I know Wink was going to do 7 guys up on the line. You don't know who's rushing, who's dropping back in coverage. Sometimes you're going to have guys drop back in coverage that you wouldn't expect, right? That's all fine with me. What I'm not okay with is completely lining up guys in weird positions.
Yep.
Exactly right. Easy to feast when you line up Mason at edge and a linebacker at DT on 3rd and 4. Yeah. So Mason Graham, you could see him in this play, standing edge. He was on the edge 7 times in this game. And another 7 times he was lined up as a defensive end. So 14 times in this game, he was as a DE or an edge. Standing edge on a key 3rd down here. Like, we've talked about he's arguably the best pass rusher on the team at 3 technique.
Right.
His skill set's not standing edge, and we'll see it in a second here. In this lineup right here, Kenneth Grant is directly over the nose. You only have so this is basically like a 3-4, and you got the 4 guys standing up because you've got Graham. Grant is your nose, and then Josiah Stewart is the other edge way out here, and you've got Derek Moore next to him on the same side of the ball.
Yeah.
Houseman's up, Barham's up. The guy next to Mason Graham is Quentin Johnson, and he's the player that ends up coming with Graham. Now, the play kind of works because what happens is Barham drops back, so Grant gets like triple teamed. Graham goes around the edge. Quentin Johnson's got a free rush to the quarterback, except for he gets picked up by the running back. And he's not a good blitzing player. He's good in coverage, so he's easily taken care of. Graham comes around the edge. He doesn't have the swim move back in like an Aiden Hutchinson. That's not his skill set. So Quinn Ewers easily escapes and gets the first down. Derek Moore drops back in coverage on this play as well.
Ewers, pocket collapsing, wants to run it, turns it up, picks up the first down as he slides.
Barham bites hard on that pump fake. This was a bad game for him, I agree. But look at this. Why in the world, you have the best defensive line in college football. Why in the world are you not sending on a key 3rd down Derek Moore and Josiah Stewart on the edge, Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham in the middle. If you want to blitz Barham, or you want to send one blitz, or if you want to disguise one and drop back the other, that's fine. But why is Quentin Johnson and Mason Graham rushing on the right side?
Yeah, I mean, that's awful. I the only thing when I watched that play live, the only thing that I could focus on was Barham missing the tackle there on Ewers, but that's very poor.
And Barham throughout the game is put into such weird positions because he too lined up on the edge, I think 12 times in this game. He lined up in the slot like 4 or 5 times. They've got him in coverage. They've got him dropping back. They've got him coming. Like, I don't think he knew where he was supposed to be because they've got him doing so much. Johnny says no twists, no stunts. I agree, but you don't have the opportunity to do them because you're lining your guys up in weird positions.
Right.
If they're lined up normal, the twist and the stunt gets your mismatch. I feel like you're trying to outsmart your opponent here. All you did is make yourself weaker by putting yourself in a different spot, right?
There's a reason this was going into the season, one of the best defensive lines in college football, and it's because you had the 2 great edge rushers in Moore and Stewart, and then the 2 interior guys in Graham and Grant. And when you're not playing the guys where they're supposed to be played, you're really not outsmarting anyone. It's just dumb. And you've got Derek Moore and Josiah Stewart lined up on the same side of the ball.
Wild.
That's just unfathomable. And before we move on to this next play, another thing Grant Newsome said at that same press conference when he talked about the quarterbacks was, Jay-Sean Barham, he might be the best second-level defender I've seen since I've been here, maybe even better than Devin Bush. And, we get all this talk about from Sharon Moore and everyone else about, when Barham hits people, he goes backwards or they go backwards, things like that. The caveat there should be when he hits people, because so far in 2 games, he hasn't hit anyone. And, when he's one-on-one with Quinn Ewers, he should blow that play up. And, great job by Ewers of hitting him with the pump fake, but I mean, why should Barham be biting at all? It's just
right now, and this is a perfect example because he's a guy I've seen how good he can be with his 2 years at Maryland. So regardless of the high expectations that were created for him, I still know what his bar would be just doing what he did at Maryland. And I wonder, here's a perfect example on this play, and this play goes well, but look he's lined up in the slot because they're out in nickel against 5 wide. Right. So I'm willing to give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt that he's super confused because of the way they're using him. Seems crazy to me. Like in this situation, just go dime, keep him at Mike, bring in another defender, another safety, whatever it might be. Right. I think saying he's and I heard it not just from coaches. I heard it from a former player that was at practice as well, that he's a stronger Devin Bush or whatever. So I'm willing to give that time a little bit. Like I said, I'm much harder on the coaches in this game than I am on the players.
Yeah.
Just because I'm looking at the scheme that doesn't make sense. I want to show this real quick. It's just a simple example of Michigan still doing Michigan things and it working, right? Again, this is nickel. You have your standard 4-man front, Moore, Stewart, Graham, Grant. You do have some coverage mismatches here because you've got 5 wide and only, 3 corners. But guess what? Both your edges get outside and they meet Ewers at the point that he wants to pass from instantly. He steps up into the pocket and Mason Graham does what Mason Graham does really, really well. Disengages his block, wraps up and gets the sack.
Here's Ewers. Steps up in the pocket, wants a run, and goes down behind the line of scrimmage this time.
Just do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're good enough that you can say, we're going to win our one-on-ones. We're going to win 11 versus 11. Again, your bend don't break. Maybe he gets some yards. He's good enough that he's going to get some plays. You just don't let him score like what happened in that first drive. I mean, the field goal was mixed, whatever. But, like, there's just no reason to try and get crazy with these and moving guys around. You're good enough to just say, our guys are going to beat your guys. Go.
Yep. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand. I would love to hear what the players had to think about some of this stuff. I would love to be able to talk to Barham and see what he's thinking about the way he's being used, and hear from Quentin Johnson about rushing the quarterback and blitzing. I don't know.
It's weird because you don't want him to be honest either, right?
Right.
You don't want your players come out and bashing their coaches or the system or whatever.
Exactly. But I wonder if deep down they're thinking, like, what is going on? Right? Like what is
think
Wink
their body
doing?
language and some of the other stuff that was happening towards the end of the game shows what they're thinking.
Yeah. And I'm with you. It's more concerning for the coaching staff, or the area of concern is more the coaching staff than it is the players. Michigan has good players, and it has potentially 3 first-round picks on defense, and it's just not working. And it was only 31 points, sure, but Texas could have scored 50. And Michigan's lucky that Sark was calling off the Wolves there in the second half.
I was going to say, Adam just said this. They played far better in the second half. I don't know that they did. Trying. I think Texas took their foot off the gas, man.
Yeah, absolutely. They were. They were out there playing, but no, they were not running their normal offense. The game was already won, and
they were showing some mercy at the end of the first half.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Clack called it out like, "Hey, you don't need to go for the score here. Take the field goal." Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, once they got up the 14 points, and I did say that was my biggest fear is if they got up that high, Michigan wasn't going to claw back.
No,
there was just no way. And yeah, towards the end of the game, they did kind of let Davis just throw, and they kind of opened it up there, but like that can't be the system. Again, back to not trying to establish the run after talking about smash, and I wanted to avoid this. I said I didn't want to bounce around too much, but we moved on to defense so quickly. I still have serious issues with the receiving core.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get this up easily here. We talked a lot last. I apologize. I wanted to touch on this. We talked about this a lot last time in terms of the rotations and if they're real or not. And at this point, some things are real because it happened in Texas. Kendrick Bell's wide receiver too. He's your X receiver. I mean, he just is because he played almost as many snaps as Tyler Morris. He was on the field, not Samaj Morgan, when they went to 2 wide receiver sets, right? To that, I say, fine. Then why aren't you throwing him the ball?
Right.
He played 40 snaps and he got 1 target, right? I think 2 things are true here, or one of 2 things are true here. Either you don't trust these receivers, and that's why you're not calling the plays to give them shots, or they're not good enough, and you're over-rotating, and you're trying to find somebody, and like you're calling this depth, but it's not based on performance, right? It's one of those 2 things, though.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't know which it is. It just as easily could be either of them. Going into the season, I think everyone knew this was not going to be an area of strength for Michigan. It was Colston Loveland was going to need to do a lot to carry the weight of the passing game. But one of the things I don't understand is, we hear all fall camp about, Samaj Morgan is really playing well. He's having a great fall camp, and Tyler Morris is going to take that next step. And Samaj Morgan isn't even starting. They're opting to put Kendrick Bell and Peyton O'Leary out there ahead of Samaj Morgan, and they're playing. I missed the snap counts. I don't know if it was on that graph. Not there.
That one. It's on a different one.
But I'd be willing to bet they're playing just as many snaps as Morgan.
And he had 8 targets in this game, but I mean his biggest plays came at the end.
Yeah.
Right. But they did have the crossing route that I thought was good, and then obviously Warren found him on that deep touchdown or whatever. But yeah, to your point. Here, let me find it. So again, I don't want to lie about numbers. I should have them off the top of my head, but yeah, Morris played 40, Bell played 39, and then Samaj played 31. And I don't know who Fred Moore hurt. Like he got 7 snaps, so he's up to 10 for the year. But same thing, like I don't know what Fred Moore is. I know what you told me he is all offseason.
Yep.
I know he got separation on that one play that Davis Warren underthrew, and Sharon Moore felt he should have gone up and got that ball. But is he benched now for good? Like, what is going on there?
Yeah, it's really concerning. A lot of us, we talked about it all off season. It was the Mo receiving core. It was Morris, Morgan, and Moore. And so far, it's not a whole lot of, basically none of Frederick Moore, and not a whole lot of Tyler Morris and Samaj Morgan. And you're getting Kendrick Bell and Peyton O'Leary out there. I don't know what was going on in fall camp. I don't know if Bell and O'Leary were just playing really well or what the coaches were seeing, but this is probably arguably the biggest surprise in my eyes is the fact that these guys that I think a lot of people were expecting to be role players, they're basically the snap counts I think are flipped. A lot of people would have expected Frederick Moore to get 39 snaps and for Kendrick Bell to get 7 or whatever he said Moore had. So it's baffling. It really is. And I think it does fall on coaching again.
All right, let's try and get back to the defense. I think part of my frustration with the wide receiver rotation is that's not happening at other positions where we thought it would, right? Look at some of these snap counts, right? And I know part of it is they're so high because Texas got so many plays off, and that's not something Michigan usually forfeits, right? That's the whole point, is to limit the amount of plays. But Jair Hill had 65 snaps in this game. Your 2 linebackers, 65 and 64. Right. So again, like I do think they need to, Houseman missed 3 tackles in this game, right? Barham, they were both out of position multiple times, but 36 coverage snaps for Ernest Houseman.
Yeah.
27 for Barham. You came out with a game plan. Again, if anything, Wink should have blitzed more. They came out playing a lot of zone. And Sark's plan was to basically play Michigan's game on offense and start picking you apart. And you just never adjusted to it. That part was kind of familiar to Don Brown. I'll give you that one. Ohio State 2018. How many times are you going to let them beat you with the same crossing route? Right. Yep. And that was my thing. It's like you're just leaving these guys out there. Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham, 60 and 58. You remember
they were gassed.
Of course they were. You remember the show before the season started? We talked about they didn't play more than 30 until Penn State.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring this up is because let me scroll all the way down here to Trey Pierce with 7, Ike Iwina with 6, and Eno Etta with 4. This is a spot you told me you had depth at.
Yep.
You've been raving about Etta all year.
Yep.
He can't get on the field for more than 4 snaps because you got Mason Graham playing edge. The one guy that used to play edge and is at defensive tackle, Eno Etta, can't get on the field. I don't get it.
That right there is probably the most infuriating thing is like I've talked about these coaches, hyped up a lot of these players, and Eno Etta was one of them. He was probably one of the more hyped up players coming out of fall camp, and for him to get 4 snaps against Texas when your 2 best players are getting 60 and 58, it's pretty unbelievable.
Look at
and
that.
I don't know if they're just not trusting these guys or what it is, but you're not going to win games when Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham are playing nearly 60 snaps. And another thing on that chart too that I wanted to point out, Jair Hill was getting killed out there.
Yeah,
he was. Obviously he's a second-year player. He doesn't have a whole lot of experience, but they were picking on him all day long. And obviously they can't throw to Will Johnson because he's so elite. But
everybody said after that Fresno game, "Oh, Texas is going to pick on him." I'm like, I hope they do.
Right.
And they didn't because they're smart. He's not overrated. He's the best corner in college football. They got 1 reception on him for 6 yards or something. But
right. And it was early too. But Jair Hill was out there chasing guys all day. If you look at the first touchdown, he's out of position. There were plenty of other plays where he's just not there. And he played 65 snaps. Something that's confusing to me is I'm pretty sure coaches were saying during the offseason that Amir Hall, the transfer from Albany, is a more athletic Josh Wallace. And I don't know how that can be true because if he was, he'd be playing. And he'd be playing more.
Well, and when he did play, he got picked on in this game too. Both of them did.
It's
I don't know, but
I
I
don't
go
know.
back to my complaint though, where I'm struggling to get after the player because I can't help but think, look, if they were running their usual scheme where their corners are in man and the safeties are helping over the top, Quentin Johnson really good at that. Bakari Page was in the box and on the line as much as and at nickel as much as he was free safety, right? Wesley Walker's hardly playing. You know, you're not getting these guys the coverage help that they need. Like, you can get home and create pressure with your 4 defensive linemen, and you can send Barham and Houseman occasionally, and they're really good with when they do that. You can blitz Zeke Berry occasionally. He's pretty good when he does that. You don't need to put 7 dudes up there and drop Kenneth Grant into coverage to confuse the opponent and leave Hill in zone coverage with no one else. He doesn't know who he's supposed to grab.
Yep.
I mean, you could see that every play they were in zone. None of them knew where they were supposed to be. Now, yeah, that's not good, but if you know that, why are you calling it? You know? Yeah, not man, like, but with cover 2, cover 3, like with help over the top. Your corners are in man, and then you have zone coverage above it. Where the linebackers are, you know, whatever. Bring 4. And again, if you want to blitz occasionally, cool. Minter blitzed. Minter blitzed a lot at times.
It's crazy. I there's just so much, and we've talked about it all show. There's so much that could have been prevented and should have been prevented. It's my biggest takeaway coming out of this game, I think, is this coaching staff needs to get right. I don't know.
You got one
I don't
game
know
to
what it is. Huh?
You got one game to do it.
Yeah, you really do, because USC's rolling. Miller Moss looks great.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if they go and lose to USC, it could be the beginning of a really unsuccessful season, a failure of a season, if you put it. You talked about, Trevor, during the offseason, the Texas game sets the tone for the season.
Yeah.
And if they win, they might roll into the Oregon game undefeated. But now that they lost and in the way that they did, you're looking at
It's
USC
the
as a
way that they
potential
did.
loss. Yep.
Yeah.
You're looking at USC as a potential loss. You're looking at maybe Washington as a potential loss.
Mm-hmm.
Oregon, obviously, Ohio State, maybe
7-5 is on the table at this point.
It could be. And if the coaching staff doesn't figure some stuff out, it could happen. It really could.
And honestly, I think it's as simple as being simple. Just getting back to basics, because honestly, that's what Michigan won with. They were sound tacklers, right? They were good tacklers. They didn't make dumb penalties, right? They ran the ball well. They avoided risk. They didn't turn it over. Michigan fans, I think we kind of forget because the success dwarfs it. But week to week, we hated watching Michigan games. They were boring at times. They would run into a wall over and over and over again because they knew at the end of the game they were going to outwork, they were going to outlast, and they were going to win the fourth quarter when it mattered most. They didn't care about style points, right? You had a top 10 quarterback on your team and you weren't throwing the ball, right? I mean, he had less yards than Cade did. You know what I mean? So like, that's what needs to happen is look in the mirror, go back to square one, just play Michigan football.
Yep.
Go out there. You can run a vanilla offense without being predictable and bad, right? It doesn't take much. On defense, again, the bend don't break. It's just break and more break. Yeah, just go to your base set, man. And the rotations too. Rotate a guy here and there. Have some logic to the rotation. Don't send 5 backups out at the same time.
Yeah.
That was the other part that drove me nuts too, is it's like, you want to put Cam Brandt and TJ Guy out there, fine, but they shouldn't be out there at the same time as Benny, as Rolder, as Amir Hall, that makes no sense to me either. You know,
that's something that I've noticed sitting from the press box is last year you'd see a lot of like, okay, off goes Derek Moore, in comes Braden McGregor,
exactly.
Off goes Josiah Stewart, in comes Jalen Harrell. Sitting from the press box this year, there are times when like half the defense is running off the field and half the defense is running on. They bring off Moore, Graham, Grant, and Stewart, and they bring in, Brant if he plays, Etta if he plays, Benny if he plays, and Trey Pierce or something like that. They're just it's mass substitution, and obviously we both agree that they should be substituting more, but not in that fashion.
Yeah, I mean, I know it feels weird because it's like we're complaining about the rotations, but also you're playing guys too much. But I guess that's kind of my point is like it's just the how and why of everything, right? So look, we got a couple minutes. Arkansas State, this is your get right game. And then you're right, USC is up. And I mean, USC has arguably looked better than Oregon to start the year at this point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So sure. Like now it's like, man, that's definitely a tougher game, right? So you're going to be expected to lose this game at this point. What can you do against Arkansas State? Or what do you think I guess, let me frame this differently. Do you think all these things we just complained about, do you think we're going to see something different this week and the season can reset? Because again, the reason I said Texas is kind of like a house money game. Doesn't affect your Big Ten conference at all. You're still in the playoff race. It doesn't, you lost to a really good team that's probably going to end up being 1 or 2 at the end of the year. You would like to lose by, 6 and not 20. But anyway, you beat USC, you beat Oregon, or, you beat Washington, you pile some wins up together, you're fine. But like, do you think they can do it? Do you have any faith that they can do it at this point?
A lot of it's going to depend on what happens on Saturday. And, I know it's Arkansas State. I know it should be a blowout, and it probably will be. But I'm going to be, as much as I've ever been, I'm going to be focused on, the personnel and what the coaching staff is doing. How smart are Kirk Campbell and Wink Martindale? It goes back to everything we talked about. Not lining up Derek Moore and Josiah Stewart on the same side of the football, but coming off the same edge, and for Kirk Campbell not bring Alex Orji out there for a 3rd and 3 when the entire defense knows you're going to run it. I want to see smart coaching. And I'd like to see Sharon Moore, like you mentioned right at the beginning, get fired up every now and then. He fires up the crowd. The first 2 games of the season, I've noticed probably like an hour, maybe 45 minutes or an hour before the game, he'll trot around the field and the camera will be on him and he'll be up on the big screen and he's hyping up the crowd, getting everyone excited. And it works at the beginning, but then during the game, like you mentioned, he's just kind of stone-faced.
Yeah. And he looked shell-shocked. And again, I mean, it's the way the TV covers it. I don't think that's fair. But no, I'm with you. That's what I want to see is some reflection here and some are you looking at Josh's text?
Yeah.
Yeah. We won't say it. Yeah, something because anything other than going back to the basics with Michigan is going to feel like a complete double down on what just happened against Texas.
Yep.
That you're going to say it's not the scheme. It's not us as coaches. You're blaming the players, if you will. Like you're doubling down on it. If the rotations still don't make sense and all this, then I mean, that's just how I would take it is, okay, this is the train you're going to ride for the rest of the year.
Yep.
And that's frustrating. I'm still willing to give probably, maybe this is an age thing too. We've talked about this. Like I was 12 when Charles Woodson in 97 happened. I thought it was going to happen all the time. I didn't know you're going to have to wait almost 30 years for it again. That Natty last year probably bought me a lot of, whatever. I'll take 9-3, 8-4, whatever. I knew there's a bunch of change with the roster. I thought the defense was going to be good enough to be better than that. I'm still going to feel like you wasted the defense if you're anything under 10-2.
Right.
I'm still going to feel that way, but whatever. You've changed some things to recruiting. Okay. But what if it's so bad on the field, recruiting starts falling off too?
Yep.
Right. You got to get hold of this quickly.
Absolutely.
Really quick. So, all right.
Yep.
Appreciate you guys. I know this wasn't a fun show, but it is what it is.
There you go. It is what it is.
That one's for Josh. No, that wasn't a fun show. But look, we've got the premium content up already. Like I said, I've got the stock reports. We've got snap counts, all that kind of data stuff you'd like over at michigan.rivals.com. We're going to have pieces over the next couple of days with coaches' comments, players' comments, all the usual build up to a football game with Arkansas State. The last, it's here already. That's the last one. And then conference schedule kicks off the week after that. So appreciate you being in here. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, notification bell. We should be back again live. And I'm losing the voice now. Sunday at 7 next week. But make sure you got that notification bell to know when we do go live. And of course, if you're not a subscriber already, we'd love to have you join us at michigan.rivals.com. You can follow us on Twitter as well to get updates. But other than that, it's been just the Trevor and Brock show this time. Josh was so sick after that contest. He couldn't even be here. I can only imagine the things he would have said. So hopefully we're not only celebrating a win, but a much improved schematic team, and things just feel different with the vibes of the program. But we'll find out next week on Hail to the Podcast.